Hey skiers, I'm Jeff from skiessentials.com. I am here today to talk about the 2025 Fischer Nightstick 97. No, I did not misspeak. This is technically a 2025 model, which is crazy. We're still I don't know, a few months away from 2024 and we're already talking about 2025 skis. The reason being, Fischer is going to have some of these skis available in the fall. From talking to Fischer, they're going to have about 140 pairs of them this fall, and then the rest will be a more traditional kind of 2025 launch with maybe some early availability. Excuse me. But I got my hands on these, gosh, I want to say back in March. It may have been late February, but I feel like early to mid-March is probably pretty accurate. And got to ski them a little bit in Stowe. And if you follow our channel or if you follow our social media, you probably know that I was out in Whistler for about 10 days and got to ski basically 8 straight days on these Nightstick 97s on the momentum training lane up on the Horseman Glacier at Whistler. So that was a super cool experience, and I felt like it gave me a nice, well-rounded opinion of these skis, now having skied them at Stowe, skied them on groomers, skied them off-trail, and now I've logged a ton of park skiing on them. So before we get into performance, we can talk a little bit about this ski and just what's going on here. I feel like it's kind of important to kind of think through what's gone on with Fischer in the past few years. So everyone remembers the pink ski. Really, it wasn't that long ago that was in their collection, that Ranger 102 FR. They also had the Ranger 94 FR, and both of those skis were very much twin tips. Enough of a twin tip that you saw some freestyle application. You saw a lot of skiers choosing those skis, pushing the mount point a little bit more forward, closer to center, and skiing them in the park. Fast forward to whatever it was, 2 years ago, when the entire Ranger line changed, which we did a lot of testing alongside Fischer, and I, for one, think objectively the new skis are great. Mostly they're really beneficial for more directional skiers, and I've mentioned this before, that kind of the one downside was they're not quite as good as park skis or somebody who wants a more centered, more balanced ski. So this Nightstick 97 is basically filling that void in Fischer's line, and I, for one, am really excited about it. This is a freestyle-focused ski. It was developed by Fischer athletes, so there was literally athlete input to this ski's design, shape, build, all of that stuff, and it's awesome. So now Fischer has kind of a wider, versatile, all-mountain / twin tip / park ski that's 97 underfoot that basically takes the place of the role that Ranger 102 FR was playing. So really cool ski, and let's take a look at what's inside this thing. Pretty basic overall. There are some cool elements going on in this ski, but from an overarching perspective, it's not crazy. There's plenty of skis on the market that you can look at and kind of point to specific technology. But as we've talked about at length here at Ski Essentials, sometimes just a simple twin tip is really, really, really good, and you don't need much more than that. So inside this ski is a poplar wood core. They do use Fischer's AirTech technology. So that's basically milling out sections of the wood core to bring weight down just a little bit. It's actually fascinating if you kind of track that technology through Fischer's existence. Sort of comes more from Nordic skis than alpine skis, so kind of cool to see shared technology there. We also get what they call fiber tech, which I'm not a ski engineer, but certainly looks like a pretty normal application of fiberglass, but let's just assume that it's a little bit more refined because they slapped that fiber tech tag on there. So poplar wood core, some fiberglass, and then probably the coolest element to this ski's construction is there is a TI or Titanal reinforcement along the edges underfoot. And I, for one, am so happy and so excited to see this new focus on underfoot durability. It felt like for a long time, ski manufacturers had reached a point and were just kind of like, the ski's not going to get better than that. Like, you're going to break them. They're going to get cracked edges and cracked sidewalls if you're sliding rails, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That is certainly still the case. If you're sliding rails a lot on skis, I don't care what they're putting inside that thing, aside from taking the edge out, I guess, you are going to crack edges. It happens. Think about taking this ski and literally smashing it against metal just over and over and over again. At some point, it's going to break. That's just the nature of the materials involved and the forces involved. That said, with a little sneak peek to performance here, I have put this thing through the ringer. I have no idea how many rails I slid in Whistler, but let's just say you could slide, I don't know, seven or eight rails per lap. I was there for 8 days, and we were probably logging 20 to 30 laps a day on the T-bar, maybe more. So I have slid a ton of rails on these things so far. The bases show it. They are all stained with Momentum rail paint, and I don't have a single cracked edge. So just to kind of start there, super cool. Love what Armada's doing with a similar concept with the new ARVs. Elan Playmakers, the trapezoidal kind of finish to their skis. It's dissipating. They've got that 360 sidewall. There's just a lot going on in the durability underfoot conversation right now, and I'm here for it. I think it's sweet. And then moving on to shape, one thing that's big about this ski is it was developed by Fischer athletes. It does have a freestyle focus, but if you ask Fischer, they really went for a ski that feels balanced in how it skis forward and how it skis switch. So they didn't want to make this thing so park focused that it lost its directional performance, and I think they've pretty much nailed it with the shape. So camber underfoot, rocker tips and tails. It's about where tip rocker starts where my hand is right now. Similar amount of tail rocker, but if you know me, I get really finicky about mount points, and I did measure this ski a lot, and the tip rocker is longer than the tail rocker. Some early taper in this ski too, which I think is super important to its overall feel and performance. So not like drastic early taper, but some nice, just kind of smooth early taper, just a nice kind of rounded finish to the tip. And then the tail arguably has more early taper. You can kind of see how narrow it gets here in the tail. So super cool. And then I'd mentioned mount points. This ski has a series of different mount points. There is a team recommended boot center that's right here, and then we go all the way to +2 and all the way to -2. I have had an interesting experience with this ski so far. I will always be the quickest to admit when I do something kind of stupid, and I first looked at this ski and kind of went through the whole situation here, measured the contact points, tried to find the center of camber, and I actually ended up doing a mount point initially that was further forward than their +2 line. That +2 line is about 3 or 3.5 centimeters back from true center, and I was kind of like, I can push it forward than that, and I did, and I think I messed it up a little bit. I think I was too far forward in the camber, so I took those bindings off. I had an STH on here, which you'll see in some of the footage, and I moved the mount point back to just the +2 line, so about 3.5 centimeters back from true center. I also put a pivot on. I love pivots. I love the way that they give a ski a more natural flex underfoot, and kind of put them through the test all over again, and don't go further forward than +2 because they feel awesome at this mount point, and I have way better turn initiation and all stuff like that, and they still feel plenty balanced for park. I was skiing, 8 days of park skiing in a row. By the end of it, I felt like I was skiing maybe a little bit better than I have in the past few years because I don't get to ski park as much anymore. So that was super cool. And I think at this point we can talk specifically about performance. And I feel like we should start with park. This is a freestyle ski, freestyle focused ski. How does it feel in the park? Starting with rails, it is not the lightest thing in the world. This 177 centimeter length is 1,950 grams. Slap a pivot on here. This is a pivot 15. Pretty heavy. You know, this is not the lightest ski in the world by any means, but I found it quite quick and agile on rails. I give a ton of credit to the shape, which, like, I don't know if it's true or not, but it might just be like the way I perceive it, or this mental feeling when you're on them. With the amount of rocker and taper in the tips and tails, they kind of look like they ski short. And I say look like they ski short because in other applications, I don't feel like they do ski short. But when sliding rails, I found them to be much quicker than I would guess if you just showed me the ski and told me how much it weighed. 97 underfoot, 1,950 grams. I'd be like, cool, yeah, it's going to slide rails just fine, but it might not be the quickest thing in the world. I wasn't doing the craziest rail tricks in the world, but definitely got like a bunch of double switch ups and stuff like that, which requires a fair amount of quickness. The benefit, the actual benefit, like I think a lot of that is just mental perception, but the real benefit of this shape, which comes through in a lot of different situations, is it is totally catch free. So whether you're doing an actual switch up or whether you're landing or taking off or like nose buttering or something like that, the ski's not going to catch, which for me, excuse me, just gives me a lot of confidence. It tells me as a skier, you don't have to be perfect. The ski doesn't demand perfection. It's going to let you mess up from time to time, and you'll be able to just kind of slip and smear and skid away from it and be just fine. So super cool in that sense. On jumps, for me, the highlight on jumps is how they feel when you land. I know the Titanal reinforcement under here is designed for durability, but I give it some credit too for just the supple, smooth, confident feel on landings. That's also where flex pattern comes in. So tip and tail flex is kind of like on the softer side. Like there's some suppleness to the flex up here, but then underfoot, it really starts to stiffen up quite a bit. It's not just a homogeneous flex pattern. It is different from tips to underfoot to tail. So as long as you're not like wheeling out or like landing super, super nose heavy or something like that, they feel really solid. And then I'm always, I don't know, a little bit shocked, I guess, when a ski with a more directional mount point can feel this balanced. So I did a few 900s. I feel like on a truly directional ski, when you start getting up into spins that start with 9, it's kind of affecting the feel. Like you can get thrown off balance way more easily on a directional ski. And for whatever reason, even being 3.5 centimeters back from true center, I didn't feel like that whatsoever. And it's kind of an interesting trend in park skiing. Is it feels like there's a lot of people, even some like professional level athletes, like the best of the best, that are kind of slowly coming around to the concept that you don't have to be truly center mounted. Admittedly, it's something that I still struggle with, which is why I pushed that mount point a little bit farther forward than I should have. But yeah, lesson learned, you know. It turns out that ski engineers and manufacturers actually know what they're doing and know where to mount a ski that they've designed. So I really like it. Again, like not the lightest thing. So if you're a competitive park skier, sure, you should probably have a different ski. I don't know that Fischer is really putting this ski out there thinking that anybody is like going to go win the Olympics on it, but it is really, really fun. And I like to at least think that I'm still a reasonably high level park skier, and it worked great for me. It was super fun. So I mentioned that this ski is intended to be balanced in how it skis switch and how it skis forward. So I'd love to talk a little bit about its other potentials as a ski and as an all-mountain ski. And it's like we're in a golden era of twin tips right now. I don't know how else to put it. It's just, there's so many cool skis on the market right now that achieve a similar balance to this ski. We talked about the Armada ARV 94 recently, and I feel like it's actually pretty darn similar between that ski and this ski in how well they ski off-piste terrain. I definitely had more fun just kind of bouncing around in ungroomed snow conditions, anywhere where I could play and kind of benefit from that catch-free feeling. So the same thing that comes through to a catch-free feeling in the park allows for really, really easy edge release too. So moguls, trees, anything that's ungroomed, softer snow, this ski does really, really well. Very similarly to how that ARV 94 performs, even with a more forward mount point than some. You know, and I think if you're gonna buy this ski and spend more time skiing it as an all-mountain ski than you would in the park, just push it back to that team recommended boot center, because that, you know, then you're 5.5 centimeters back from true center, which is going to be way more appropriate as a directional ski. And based on my findings at this +2 line, it's still going to work in the park. So if park is like less of a focus for you, then that's probably what I would do, because I think then you're going to get even better all-mountain performance. But yeah, I love just bouncing around on them and playing. And then groomers are interesting to me. My initial experience on them was with that further forward mount point, and it was also, at least the footage that we have, and most of my memories were from a really weird day. There was kind of a lot of loose granular snow on top of really firm snow, and between not having enough shovel and having like kind of delicate snow conditions, I was struggling with turn initiation. I wasn't sure how much to weight this portion of the ski. Moving the mount point back helped tremendously. We didn't film anything in Whistler other than just park skiing, because that's what we were there to do. But I did get to carve some turns on them. I got to make a lot of kind of skidded short turns during our warm-up runs and stuff like that. And it does perform quite well on a groomer. I also think it's fair to say that that's what it's worst at. You know, a ski has to be, among its performance characteristics, something has to be at the bottom of the priority list, or the list of what it's really good at. And I think it's totally fair to say that like holding an edge on a groomer is not what this ski is best at. It does do it, and it's kind of fun to like bend it into a really high edge angle, kind of shorter turn. I think this is a 17-meter turn radius on here. Yeah, 17, but you can definitely bend it into a shorter arc than that, because it isn't like a crazy stiff ski. But I guess what I kept coming back to skiing it on a groomer is, hopefully it's come through in some of our videos, how much I like skiing the Ranger 96. That ski, for me personally, just rips on a groomer or on any situation where you're just laying over carving turns. But important to remember that the metal in that ski is a lot longer, and the metal in that ski is actually specifically designed for that purpose, where the metal in this ski is not designed for that purpose. We also get much longer rocker, kind of softer flexing tips and tails, and all that early taper. So I do think it's fair to say that it skis a tiny bit short on a groomer. I guess the area where I was going to say it doesn't ski short is jumps. That's like where I really felt like I had that necessary stability. But I kept skiing this thing kind of thinking like, well, it's 97 underfoot and it's made by Fischer. It should probably feel like a Ranger 96. And it just doesn't. But that's fine, because I don't think that's what Fischer had in mind when they made this ski. In fact, if they made this ski and a bunch of people bought it and the majority of their customers were using it just to carve turns, I think that would be like just kind of sad. You know, there's plenty of other skis. Like Fischer makes Ranger 96, they make RC1 GTs, they make the Curve GT, they make so many awesome carving skis. So kind of cool to have a ski from Fischer that doesn't do those things particularly well. But that said, I feel like most people choosing this ski, most kind of playful park level skiers, they'll be able to get on a groomer and carve to a point that will fulfill their carving demands. So really cool ski. Again, just like the durability is probably the highlight to me. Maybe not the highlight. The whole package is really cool. They've done a great job with this thing. But yeah, maybe like to end, I'll take some close-up shots of just how beat up this base is, because you guys will really get to see what I mean. I'm not fudging it. It really did. It went through a lot. It also was in the hands of FedEx because Air Canada lost my bag and it got shipped to like Indianapolis and then like, I don't know, it went all over the country. It's in pretty darn good shape. I do think there are a couple rock impacts that I'm going to need to fill in before next season, but all things considered, not too bad, and just a really cool ski. So keep an eye out for these things available in the fall. Like I said, I think they're doing 140 pairs, and my understanding is those 140 pairs will all get this graphic, and then once those are gone, they will be announcing kind of the normal graphic, for the following season. So there you have it. Fischer Nightstick 97, pretty darn cool. Let me know if you have any questions about it. Happy to chat more about it. I can also like relay questions to Fischer if I don't have the answer. But yeah, sweet skis. Let us know if you have any questions. Talk to you soon.